Hi everyone, my name is Ashwin Girish. I am a third year undergraduate student from the Department of Physics, and I will be talking about my experience trying to land an internship. So I interned at the Raman Research Institute under Professor Gautam Soni in the summer of 2018, at the Indian Institute of Science under Professor Chetan Krishnan in the summer of 2019, and I was given the opportunity to intern under Professor Badri Krishnan at the Max Planck Institute for Gravitational Physics in Hanover, Germany. And I was supposed to go this year, but unfortunately, due to the situation the world is in right now, I wasn't able to. We've decided to postpone it to next year anyhow. So I will be talking about the broad steps that one would follow to try and land a research internship, either in India or abroad. So there are two major pathways. The first pathway would be through a program. So a few examples of programs in India and abroad would be the VSRP offered by TIFR Bombay, the SRFP organized by the Indian Academy of Sciences headquartered in Bangalore, and then for programs abroad you have the DARD offered by the DARD authorities in Germany, you have CHARPAC offered by France, the SURF offered by Caltech in the US, you have MITAX offered in Canada, and you have Erasmus for broadly Western European countries. And the second pathway, which arguably most of us generally get our internships by, is something that we call apping, where you directly send emails to professors in institutions either in India or abroad. So there are a few prerequisites before you start apping. The first thing is that you need to figure out what your area of interest is. So I understand it's quite difficult for an undergraduate student to figure out what area they're interested in and to single out one single area, because we're practically interested in everything. But the main aim of a research internship is to try and figure out what area you're actually interested in and to get research experience as well. Apart from that, it's not to try and figure out, okay, this is what I'm going to work on for the rest of my life. So one thing is you can try and read a lot of textbooks and see whether the topic speaks to you, if you get what I mean. It's a very intuitive feeling that I don't think I can explain, but you can try and you will get a feeling that yes, I found the topic that I'm interested in. The next prerequisite, especially if you're applying for a program or an internship that involves a stipend or any sort of internship abroad, is that you need a little bit of research experience in India itself. So this sort of research experience can be either with professors at our own institute, but it needs to be research experience. You need some sort of research experience before you apply for any sort of paid internship. So there are a few things that you need to get ready. The first thing is the cover letter. So this is the letter that you would send the professor, and what the professor would read first. So this should not be more than 2 paragraphs, and a good way to look at whether it's short enough is that if you kept it on your laptop screen, you should be able to read the entire message without having to scroll even for a single line. So that's a very good way of actually seeing whether your cover letter is of the correct size. So essentially this will talk about who you are, where you're from, what your academic track record is like, why you're writing to this professor, what you're interested in, why do you want to work under this professor, and what your prior research experience is in the first place. Okay, you would attach your CV and your transcript to this. So the CV would be a research CV and not an industrial CV or a corporate CV, and a research CV focuses mainly on your research interests, your academic record, your coursework, and your prior research experience. Unlike industrial CVs and corporate CVs, your extracurriculars and PORs don't matter at all for these sort of research CVs. They would matter if you're applying for a master's, but then you're applying for an internship over here. So the second document that you would send is your transcript. If you don't have the official transcript that you've gotten from the department office, you could definitely use your Pingala transcript. That works just as well. So after you've sent these emails, if you're lucky, you will get a reply. If you're even luckier, you will get a positive reply saying that yes, I'll consider you for my further steps in choosing a person, but that positive reply doesn't mean that you've received the internship yet. There are several other steps ahead. For example, the professor might ask you to send a few letters of recommendation, or might ask you to send a statement of purpose, or both. So a statement of purpose basically explains your reasons for applying for that internship, what about you makes you good for that position and for that internship, why you're interested in taking up that internship, and what made you interested in the topic in the first place. So it's like a look into your sort of personality, because the professor obviously doesn't know you, so he or she will need some sort of way to get to know you a little better, and an SOP is something that helps in that. The second thing that the professor will use to get to know you better is your letters of recommendation. Now, when I applied for my internship at the Max Planck Institute, I had to give my professor 3 letters of recommendation. You can get a letter of recommendation from a professor who you've already worked with, or from a professor whose course you've gotten an A in. These two sort of professors would probably give you the best possible recommendation letters. So you can directly email these professors, and they generally should be happy to give you a letter of recommendation. Okay, and after these, further steps might include an actual interview with the professor who you've applied to. Okay, now the next step is searching for professors. This is something that you can do in 2 major ways. The first way is by actually looking at university websites. This has its advantages and its disadvantages. The advantage is that you have professors who are actually working at that moment and haven't retired. The disadvantage is that you'll have to look through each individual professor's research interests and shortlist a few of them, okay, based on your interests. The second method that you have is by using Google Scholar. Google Scholar allows you to search for papers and publications on the basis of the topic. So what you could do is you could look at recent papers, maybe over the last 5 or 10 years, based on your research interests, and email the people who wrote those papers, the authors of those papers. This has its advantages and disadvantages. Again, the advantage being that you found people who work on your topic. The disadvantage is there's no way of knowing whether that professor actually is affiliated with some university at the moment. He or she might have retired. So based on both these methods, you can search for professors who you wish to send emails to. Okay, now when you're emailing professors, and it would be really helpful if you maintain an Excel sheet with a list of all the professors and the universities they're from and what they work on. Okay, so you can also record when you emailed the professor and how many reminders you've sent them and when you sent the reminders and all of that. So when you send an email, limit yourself to just 2 reminders sent 1 week after the previous email. Okay, so space your emails with 1 week. So you should give some time to professors to actually to get a chance to read your email, because they get more than 30 or 40 emails every day. So there's a very good chance that the email might have just been buried in a huge number of emails that they receive. Okay, so the physics department is a primarily research oriented department. You wouldn't find any industrial interns, but you could apply to organizations that are exclusively research organizations and don't take any PhD students or master's students. Examples would be the ISRO or Physical Research Lab, the Physical Research Laboratory, and so on. So a few tips as such. So when you're applying, start applying to foreign universities, and you should start sometime end July, beginning of August, because you need to give some amount of time for visa formalities that will be there if you get an internship towards the end of the year. You can start applying to Indian universities sometime in January and February, because the visa formality isn't there. Okay, so when you're writing an email, always use your IITK email ID. Because if you use your Gmail ID or some other email ID, the professor who you're writing to will never know whether you're an actual student at the university. They might think, okay, this person's probably writing from some sort of Gmail ID and masquerading as some university student. Whereas if you write from your IITK email ID, then they will know that you're a student at IITK, since only we get IITK emails, IDs. Okay. A tip that you could follow is that you should link your IITK email ID to your Gmail. So then you get the functionality of scheduling your emails. Gmail has that functionality where you can schedule emails such that it reaches the person at some particular time. Ideally, you should send emails such that it reaches the professor somewhere between 9 and 10 a.m. in their time zone. Okay, this maximizes their chance of actually reading the email. The next thing, when you're emailing professors, you wouldn't email just one professor on one day, or you wouldn't wait for a professor's reply and then actually go to the next professor. You would email 5 or 6 professors. Some people email even 10 professors on a single day. So when you're emailing professors, never email multiple professors from the same university on the same day. It will be treated as spam, because if you know that bulk emails are generally treated as spam. In your email, avoid using the word internship. Preferably don't use the word internship at all, because some professors might even have filters that can filter these sort of emails directly into their spam folder. When you're attaching your CV and transcript or any file to your email, do not attach the file directly as a physical attachment. Always attach them as a Google Drive link. Okay, because again, people might have filters that filter out these sort of emails with attachments. When you're writing an email, be polite but not casual. Again, a certain degree of formality is nice in these emails, but then if you end up being too formal, it becomes very cliche and cringy. So be formal but not too formal when you're writing these emails. Okay, so these are some basic tips that I would like you guys to know when you're sending emails to professors. As for the experience of working in a research internship, the opportunity to actually contribute something to the pool of knowledge that we humans have made for ourselves actually gives you a lot of pride. It is something that, can't be beat. The joy that you get out of this sort of an experience is something you won't find anywhere else. So I wish you guys all the best in your endeavors to try and find a research internship. And also I hope that all of you are safe and are healthy at home. Please stay safe and stay healthy. Thanks.